those who don't know, the Free State Project is a movement of voluntary human action where we are trying to concentrate libertarians in the state of New Hampshire.
I think we've done more in the last decade than every other libertarian movement combined has accomplished in the last 5 decades.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, libertarians and anarchists, movers, natives, and those on your way, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Free State Live, where you can hear about all the ways you can live free and thrive in the free state of New Hampshire. First and foremost, time to welcome back our cast of characters. I'm Justin O'Donnell, former libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate, author, and host of the Subversive Podcast. As always, we have our family man and keyboard warrior extraordinaire, Kevin from the internet, joining for the night. How are you, Kevin?
Good. What's happening? Good to be back after many computer problems.
Computer problems are the worst, right? Well, it was fun. You missed last week. Me and Carla did a recap with some folks on the elections and where we were moving forward. And tonight, like with election season past us, but recounts still going on. We don't know the balance of the House. Like it could be a tandem or a messing. Oh, there he is. Tall Bill finally joins us. Bill Parker. Late as always. How are you, Bill? Bill will get his audio working at some point. But we have actual stuff to do this year, moving forward, just like always. And there's been hundreds of legislative service requests submitted to the New Hampshire General Court already for the 2023 session, and it's going to be a busy as heck year. So joining us tonight from the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance to talk about the bill reviews, what they're working for, and the most successful libertarian organization in the state of New Hampshire, we have NHLA Chair Melissa Cream and Research Director Jeremy Downing. Guys, how are you tonight? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So... tell us all about it. It's been a year. You've been on the show before, at least Melissa has. Jeremy, you weren't here last time, so welcome. But NHLA is very well known to those of us here in New Hampshire, but a lot of people who aren't looking in New Hampshire, maybe looking for their reasons to move. Kind of almost the backbone of why most of these legislative freedoms that we do have here in New Hampshire have gotten to where they are. Like, what's the background history of NHLA? Like, in what has the path been the past couple decades or past few years, especially into getting NHLA to becoming the most successful organization in all of libertarian activism almost?
So NHLA was started in 2003. It's all volunteer. It's nonpartisan. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is what NHLA stands for. And our mission basically is to review all of the bills that are coming through the State House. We review them and we evaluate them as to whether or not they're liberty. Are they pro-liberty or anti-liberty? And then this organization puts together, once we've just determined that, we put together this gold standard. That's what we call it. It's the gold standard. Yep. It's handed out to all of our state representatives and senators. And we tell them how to vote on a bill if you want it to be pro-liberty, if you want more freedom, and if it's anti-liberty, to vote against it. Once they vote, we score them. So we're watching how they vote. Do they vote with us or against us? And so if they vote with us, they're getting scored, positive. And if they're voting against liberty, they get scored negatively. And then we tally up the scores, and then we produce the Liberty rating. We hand that out in July of every year at our Liberty dinner, where we count up how many A+ representatives we have and how many constitutional threats. And the constitutional threats normally don't attend Liberty dinner. They're not there. We don't have to worry about them. But we have, and then we endorse anybody who's a B+ and higher. So if you get a B+ by voting with that gold standard and higher, you're getting endorsed and you're getting a check from the NHLA to run again, hopefully. So that's the NHLA. That's what we do shortly. And again, all volunteer, nonpartisan.
And great. And it really is nonpartisan. And you guys have gotten a big enough reputation that people know that your endorsement matters here in the state. Like, even I actually have a friend who's a state rep, who's a Democrat. We're friends personally, not politically, who keeps getting rated as a constitutional threat and who cares about her NHLA rating and is very upset about being labeled a constitutional threat and keeps trying to make the arguments about why her bills are actually pro-liberty to myself and Mo. We're like, well, they're not.
No. So we're very principled. I was at this fall, we had our annual meeting at Fulcino's, and a gentleman there, he came up to me and he said, I just got to tell you, NHLA is so principled in liberty. And that's what makes us the premier liberty organization in this state. Is we can't be bought. We are principled in the principles of liberty. So we are against government mandates of every kind. You don't get to push us around. You don't get to, and so my husband the other day was saying, liberty is easy when it's something you want, when you think it's a good idea. But when you're giving liberty to somebody who you're against the idea, it scares you, that's hard. And so, but we give the liberty to, don't aggress on us and you should be free. Yeah.
I remember the last couple of years, there was some normally great A-rated NHLA Liberty reps who got knocked down because of kind of reactionary reactions to the COVID nonsense and the lockdowns and everything, where they supported an authoritarian pushback against the COVID lockdowns. And NHLA, even as a libertarian organization that opposed the lockdowns, you didn't take the stance that allowing the government to force them to end was the right stance. And you actually held that against people who were even normally some of our best allies.
Yeah, they wanted to tell private businesses what they could or couldn't do. I can't even remember at this point, but you don't get to tell a private business how to run their business, is where we were coming from. So we had this year in the A+ scoring, we had 11 A+ reps. We had 33 A's, we had 31 A- and 39 B+. So 114 got endorsed, or if they ran again, they would get our endorsement, but that's where we were. We had 114 B+ or better this year.
Yeah. And now looking back quickly on the elections, I mean, while they're still really fresh in the rearview mirror, we're still doing recounts. We have was today the last recount, or is there still more this week? I haven't kept up as close as I should.
I haven't kept up with that either. Jeremy, do you know?
Well, I've heard of just one. I think I saw it in our notes that there was just one more that we were concerned about as far as liberty-related candidates. But other than that, I haven't paid close attention. I thought we did pretty good with the report.
Yeah, I went last week to help view and audit 2 of the Liberty candidates' recounts, and we won both of them. I couldn't actually count because I'm not a Republican. So they wouldn't let me actually observe because the Liberty candidate I was supporting was a Republican, so all I could do was observe, but couldn't actually count or help. But it was great to be there, seeing everybody excited, like not excited. It was a very stressful thing watching people scrutinize every single ballot. But there's 100 some odd endorsed reps. How many won?
So we endorsed, going into the primary, we endorsed 158 candidates. And 135 of those continued on to the general election, and 97 got elected. We have that one recount is pending. For the Senate, we endorsed 8, and 5 are continuing went into the general election. 2 were elected, including Keith Murphy. He's our first Free Stater in the Senate. And Howard Pearl. So that's pretty good. 97 is the most ever in NHLA history. So, we would like to, I think we wanted, I can't remember, we were hoping for like 200, like that's what we want, like 200 Liberty reps, right? But 97 is not bad. That's pretty good.
No, and I did look, there's been a lot of pushback and people complaining online about the kind of quote unquote bloodbath that the right and Republicans took in this election, where they lost a sizable chunk of the Republican majority in the House. But I'm like, but we elected more libertarians than ever. It's like the establishment Republicans that ended up losing where it counted, and the people who continued to push and promote liberty and serve their constituents in that manner won, even when the rest of their party they might have been affiliated with wasn't doing well.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that didn't, for reasons that, there are reasons, but by and
Not
large,
everyone likes
we've got
skiing.
Liberty. I mean, and I'm happy those 97 that we've got in there that we got, they are Liberty. If they weren't, and that's the other thing we do is if you aren't in the State House this past season, you did take a survey. So if you're a new person running, you're going to take our survey and we score that to see whether or not we can endorse you. And so those people, we will be watching them in the State House. So they took a survey. We scored them. If they scored, Jeremy, is it 85 or higher?
Yes, 85.
They scored 85 or higher, then they got endorsed. So now we get to watch them. Hopefully they're Liberty. Hopefully they really are Liberty. We just scored them based on a survey. So we'll see. But they get that gold standard, and that gold standard delineates why it's Liberty. So hopefully they'll listen. And then I'm hopeful that those reps that were there that have been through this before, who know Liberty, can take those other people under their wings and say, this is the way, point the way to freedom, point the way out of the nets of the government. So hopefully that will happen.
Right. And now with all that in the review, time to actually get down to the work, what the organization does. You mentioned the gold standard. Jeremy, you're the research director.
Right.
This really is the meat and potatoes of NHLA. Like, outside of the few months leading up to an election every couple years, this is the year-round, day-to-day. And what's the path moving forward from here? And what do you anticipate the kind of workload being this legislative session?
Well, we had 1,100 bills last year, and presently the LSRs today we're at 415. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were again in the neighborhood of about 1,000 bills that will be presented to the legislature in some form. Of those, many of them will go to committee and be scheduled to be voted upon. But once they're released towards the middle of December, they'll be available for us to start doing bill reviews upon.
So, what's the process of bill review? How does that work? Who's involved in that?
Yeah, I know nothing of this process. I'm fascinated by what it is you do after the elections end. All right, so what do you do tomorrow? That's a great question.
Right. Well, we're kind of in bill review training season now. So we've had two. We've had two, and we're scheduled to have one or two more. And actually, even the last couple of years, I think one of our activists and members was interested in learning how to do bill review trainings on their own, which is fantastic because, you could have many more people getting trained at the same weekend, for example. But essentially, you just go to our calendar or you get our newsletter. We'll announce when we're doing another training, and it'll be on the calendar, and you show up. It takes about an hour and a half. You'll get a presentation. You'll get to see me or maybe Melissa and Jeff face to face, and we'll help you through the process. It's not really that arduous. We have a nice web form that you fill out. It allows you to score a variety of different topics with respect to the bill, and you're basically just trying to judge that bill against our positions on a variety of topics with Liberty. So you could start with a small bill and take 5-10 minutes, and you've reviewed a bill, or you could try your hand at something a little maybe more meaty to you and spend some time doing some research and whatnot. But basically, you're filling out a form, you're writing some text about why you feel this bill is this way or that. You might take a stab at writing a few gold standard bullets, and then your bill review is done. And that helps us because when the legislative session is about to vote on a slate of bills, we know on maybe a Thursday evening or a Friday morning that's coming. And depending on how many bills they try to vote on, particularly if it's a multi-day scenario, those bill reviews and that pre-research that's done is key into getting as much good content on the gold standard as possible. So without the extraordinary dedication of some of the folks helping with this, the gold standard just would not have the content that it has now. So we are very heavily activist driven.
And before even, at least in my experience, I'd taken a few years off and not helped out much because I've been so busy and looking to get back into it this year. But in the past, when I used to be a regular, frequent attender at legislative hearings I was on a first name basis with everyone on the election law committee, and they all hated me at one point or another. I would use the bill review system to go and prepare my own testimony to see what other people had reviewed bills as and how I was going to prepare my testimony for certain bills there, and look into things where I'd already formed an opinion, but like, well, let's see what somebody smarter than me came up with to help inform my opinion further.
I can't tell you how many times last year I was looking, I'd read a bill on my own, and then I would just say, I don't know about this. Why does this need to be on the gold standard? And I go read someone's review of that bill, and I'd be like, oh, wow, okay. So we added it to the gold standard, and we just like, they had written bullets, and they put the bullets in, and it was part of the Liberty rating for last year for some people.
Yeah. Now, say somebody can't make it to one of the bill review trainings, but still wants to get involved and help out, like whether they live up in the North Country, up in like Pittsburgh or something right on the border, and the 3-hour drive down to Manchester doesn't make sense, or if they're out of state planning to move and want to start helping out before they get here, you do have the digital trainings too. And I went and refreshed myself because I'm not sure if I can make it out to the next bill review training yet. I'm planning on it, but not sure. So I sat down and watched Melissa's little narrated half-hour video the other night to walk through the whole thing.
I didn't know that was still out there.
It's right on the website. I found it really easily. But like, what's the process for somebody to actually get involved, get access, and like get these trainings?
Contact us. Contact, Jeremy. He's the research director at NHLA.org, or NHLiberty.org. NHLiberty.org. But there's lots of volunteer opportunities. So if bill review is not your thing, we do need people to hand out the gold standard at the State House. So once that gold standard is created, we need to get it into the hands of our legislature. So we have people who pick it up at the printers in Concord, and then they are going over to the LOB, the Legislative Office buildings, and they are handing it out to this representatives as they're coming into the building. It's emailed to them, so they have no excuse not to have it. So you could volunteer to hand it out. You can volunteer to help us with an event like Liberty Dinner. Liberty Dinner is in July. We need help with that. It is a big project, and we've had some amazing volunteers. This past Liberty Dinner was awesome. This next one coming up is our 20-year celebration. So it's going to be big, I hope. I'm trying. I want it to be big, but we'll see.
Right ahead of Pork Fest 22.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You can, the IT director, I think, is looking for a little bit of help. So if you have any IT skills, he's looking for some help with some things we need going on in the background with like getting people set up for bill review training hasn't been the easiest thing. So I really appreciate all those bill reviewers that have stuck with it and gotten themselves on that bill review training, being able to do so. And so our IT director is working on that. And then Python development for the bill review system, volunteer in the next special election to help a candidate. So, we're going to have special elections. We know that's coming. And so if you can volunteer with one of those candidates to get them elected, to get a Liberty candidate elected, that's huge. So if you're up in the North Country and there is somebody who's pro-Liberty that NHLA has endorsed, go hold a sign for them, go wave at people and be friendly and tell people to vote for them. Just get that word out. That's huge. So those are just some of the things, I can probably find something for you to do if you contact me.
And of course, I know Dennis says money as always. I know you guys are hosting a fundraiser soon too, aren't you?
Yeah. Jeremy?
Yeah, so we are an all-volunteer organization, but we do need money for things like paying web hosting providers or printing the gold standing, hosting events for legislators and other things. So we always need donations to our PAC. You can donate at nhliberty.org/donate. But if you're in the state, we'd love to have you attend our fundraiser Monday, the 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Vine 32 in Bedford. It's a great venue where you can try a lot of different wines. They have the wines up on walls, and you're able to go to the dispenser and pick your wine and get some. And the tickets are $150, but it includes wine as well as appetizers. But it's a great way to meet some board members and some other folks who are in our Liberty community and help us raise some money to support more Liberty candidates. And if you don't drink, it's not a problem. It'll help us raise a little bit more money. So we also have a civic action fund. And while that primary mission of the NHLA is for our PAC and the accountability work we do through the gold standard and Liberty rating, we also have a civic action fund, which allows us to offer charitable assistance to those in New Hampshire. So we've helped families after house fires or families who have had an unexpected loss of a provider or at times have donated to help provide scholarships to help families get children out of the government schools. So the various funds are all separate. So people who donate get to pick where to donate their funds, and it helps.
Fantastic. Now, looking forward to the actual meat and potatoes, the actual work getting done after the fundraisers and putting it all to good use. 415 LSRs submitted so far. I mean, was today the deadline, or is it next Tuesday that's the deadline to submit? I'm not sure. I saw somebody post something.
28th
or tomorrow.
Yeah, it's in the calendar.
Yeah. So, but what is it like? Is there anything that's jumped out to you? I haven't gone through them. Usually at this point every year, I've gone through and made a list of ones I want to pay attention to, because all we have is titles. But other than big ones, like we know there's going to be a big cannabis legalization bill. We know there's going to be a few other big ones that have been planned for years with things like Defend the Guard and other initiatives. What's the most exciting bill for each of you this year?
Ooh.
That's what we were talking about before. What's the most exciting bill?
Well, there's one to repeal the prohibition on brass knuckles. So, I mean, who knew that brass knuckles were not legal in New Hampshire? All knives are legal.
Yeah.
Slingshots too.
Slingshots too. All right. So, I mean, I think, if we can repeal stuff, I'm really more about repeal than let's make more laws. So if we can just really start repealing. So, I mean, brass knuckles, I think they should be legal. I don't know that many people in New Hampshire that have them, but I haven't heard of any incidents. I don't know. I think let's repeal brass knuckles. Because like knife law, everybody can have any kind of knife for all legal purposes in New Hampshire. It just seems to me brass knuckles should be fine.
Well, and there's at least one libertarian out there who say, well, why haven't you moved to New Hampshire? Brass knuckles are illegal. At least one where that's the final line straw for them out there. But more along lines, when you're repealing little tiny stuff like this, it's often overlooked is how much this stuff is used as just like accessory charges. Like somebody might just have a pair of brass knuckles that's decorative, that's like on their backpack or something like that. They get arrested or pulled over speeding, and all of a sudden they catch a charge. Yeah.
For just having something, I don't know why they have it, benign. But whatever. Yeah, something completely. Yeah, they weren't even using it. Maybe it was just decorative. Maybe they inherited it. I don't know, but it should be fine.
Yeah, I remember when I was when I lived in Massachusetts and growing up there, I had a friend who had a bottle opener / lighter that was made out of an old 50 caliber bullet, and he ended up getting arrested, and he got a charge for possessing ammunition without a license to carry.
Yeah, well,
even though it was a demailed round, the law was still vague enough. Yeah. Now, Jeremy, how about you?
I think, I would love to see the legalized cannabis bill actually pass and the governor sign it, but it depends on the quality of the bill. The one that we really supported last year was a constitutional amendment that basically treated it like a plant in your yard. It was completely decriminalized. We don't care. You do what you want. To me, that's the best thing. So I haven't seen text on this bill yet, but if it's good, I'd like to see that one go through.
So I do know Ross Conley spoke at length about the bill that AFP is promoting at the NHLA summit a couple weeks ago. I do a video of that up on my other channel for people who want to see it. And there's been already heated discussion in the comments where some people are like, this is great. Finally, New Hampshire won't be an island of prohibition. Yeah. And then other people are like, you're just creating more government by letting them tax it. Yes. And like what's the lesser of two evils? Like, cannabis is such a hot button issue in New Hampshire because we end up being an island of prohibition, but so many people are really comfortable with the robust and unenforced decrim that we already have.
Right.
So like, how do you cross that bridge?
It feels like
that's why we have the legislative summit to have them discuss it and figure out how to get across that bridge. So yeah, our legislative summit was hugely successful. I was really surprised. So we thought we would have about 30 to 40 people show up at our legislative summit. And I don't know, what do you think, Justin? How many people were there? 80?
It was standing room only, and it was hard to move around.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you, we got lucky getting the room we had. So we were supposed to be in a smaller room, and I was just like, thank goodness we have what we have, because we would have been, it would have just not been the event it was. But it was awesome. Dan McGuire talked about the budget, and he gave a really great presentation on that. And then Ross spoke about cannabis. And then the legislators and the activists were able to get together and mingle and talk to one another about what they want to see moving through the State House. And that comes up so quick, because we're trying to have the legislative summit right after the general election, but before these bills need to be so it was just this, like, we got to do it now. So it kind of, it came together really quickly and really well. And, I think it was a successful event. I hope it was.
Yeah, I had a great time. I thought it was fun. Jeff did correct me in the chat. Tomorrow is the deadline for reps to submit new bills. And I do know some of them are still out there soliciting ideas. I know Travis Corcoran was on Twitter asking everybody, he's like, just throw ideas at me. And he submitted 17 LSRs last week, just based on Twitter suggestions from people. And he's a freshman, so he might be in for a stressful year.
It's always a stressful year.
Right. But I'm used to, like Jeremy's mentioned, there was, I think it was 1,253 bills total, or LSRs, including Senate resolutions and everything last year, 1,100 House bills. Like 415 seems really low so far.
It is not on track with last year, that's for sure. But it'll be interesting to see what that number is if it's closing tomorrow, the following day, Wednesday. I'll be looking. Yeah. Hitting the refresh button to see.
Yeah, because it's almost like a lot of time is dedicated to reviewing these bills. And like when there's 1,200 to go through, that's a lot more daunting of a task for your volunteers to read, understand, and put out the reviews on 1,200 bills than it is 400 bills in the same period of time almost.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
So...
Yeah, but they did make it through last year, and they made it through the previous year. I think the last 2 years, due to the fact that COVID was compressing legislative sessions so that they were having like 3-day sessions. I think they did that once last year and this year. We had 17 or 18-page gold standards. There's no way that could have happened without some amazing dedicated work from several of our volunteers on the weekends for that. I mean, those were tremendous.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to the next year with you guys. I think it's going to be some great work, and you guys have accomplished so much in the past 20 years. And a lot of the work, a lot of the reasons we recruit libertarians with the Free State Project to move here in New Hampshire is because of the work NHLA has done in the actual legislative work to get these things accomplished and get things done. Is there anything more you guys want to leave people with? Any direct, where would you encourage somebody who hesitant, tentative, they don't know how they want to get involved, don't know what their niche is or what they're good at, what are the first steps for them with your organization? Because I know
with our organization,
because I at least had one new mover I spoke with over the last few weeks who's all sorts of ideas. I kept asking him, well, what do you want to do? Pie and sky ideas. I'm like, well, you should join NHLA. Well, you should join NHLA because everything seemed kind of in your wheelhouse. But where would you direct somebody who doesn't know what they want to do?
Well, I guess I would say join NHLA. I think that's really a good start. Join our organization. Yep. You can you can be an activist for nothing. I would prefer you join as a full member for all of $25. I don't think that's, too bad. So first you join and then get that newsletter. Once you start getting the newsletter, then you can start understanding what it is we do. You can get more in depth, and then you can say, okay, then you can reach out to myself, Jeremy. I mean, our board of directors is amazing. Our membership director is Larry. Seamus is our treasurer. Mo is our secretary. I'm going to forget somebody. Who am I forgetting, Jeremy? Our IT director is Richard.
Yeah.
So if you want to get involved in IT, we can get you there. So once you've gotten your feet wet, find out, a little bit more about NHLA, what we're really all about, get that newsletter, and then reach out to us and we'll find a spot for you. We can do that. Yeah. Who did I forget? I forgot somebody.
Yourself?
Me, Jeremy, Richard, Seamus, Mo, Larry. There's one. Oh, Matt, our political director. Yeah.
Well, Matt's got his hands full with his own legislation this year as well. So I know he's working on he's helping with Defend the Guard, and who knows, maybe pushing secession again to see how that goes the second time around. But Dennis and Chet, can't forget Jeff.
He's an advisor to the board. He is not on the board, but he is a trusted advisor to us, and he
Yes.
helps out a lot. Yeah.
It does.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you guys for helping out.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, watching. And remember, if you guys want to get more involved, you can check out New Hampshire Liberty Alliance at nhliberty.org. The link's right in the description of the video too. You just give it a click, follow right over. And if you want to learn more about the Free State Project, if you haven't decided to make your move yet, just check out fsp.org and hit that visit tab so you can plan your visit, get in touch with Chris Lopez, and she can help you plan a custom tailored visit where you get to know the state, know your neighbors. And if you're already here, you're looking to connect, looking to get involved, looking to find more NHLA events, or other events from other organizations around the state, check out the calendar. The most jam-packed Liberty calendar in the world. You'll never be able to do everything on it, so you might as well give it a try. But you'll never be bored. And if you want to support the ongoing mission of the Free State Project, you can go to freestateproject.fsp.org/give. You can make a recurring donation or a one-time donation. Remember, the Free State Project is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization, and while we don't endorse candidates, policies, or legislation specifically, everything we discuss is for educational purposes only, but it's better for you to decide that your money goes to help those causes rather than Uncle Sam. So until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Be free.
Yeah, I don't believe in destiny. I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me. You ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie.